Welcome to another episode of the Coffee Conversation Show powered by the Emerging India Forum, TIF, and our tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Series is The Emerging Lawyer. Theme is The Future of Telecommunication Law. We have with us Ajeeth Srinivas, Associate at Spice Group Legal, specializing in technology and telecommunication law. With experience advising clients in rapidly evolving sectors such as edtech, adtech, finance, and telecom. Ajit brings a fresh perspective on the intersection of law and innovation. So, welcome Ajit to today's coffee conversation. Just want to explain you the format. You must be aware of the two rounds, professional, personal, but there is a surprise rapid fire round.
Oh, absolutely. Happy
Okay.
to be here.
So you have to be witty, funny, and quick, and you will get to win this gift ebook authored by me.
Understood.
Okay. So, friends, this is Lion Amir Virani here, host of Coffee Conversation and legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, and author of 15 books. So, let's begin. Ajit, what inspired your interest in technology and telecommunication law, and how did you decide to specialize in this field?
I think it's my current workplace that really did, sort of bring my growth about in tech law. All through my law school, uh, I was I was pumped to be a litigating lawyer. I thought I would go to court every day and that I would argue, matters of constitutional law. But then came around this internship with Spice Root Legal, and I was I was assigned to the data privacy and cybersecurity practice. I think it was at that time that I really thought that this is a scope of law that hasn't really been tested before. It is it's I don't think it's even correct to say that it is an up and coming area of law. It is a nascent area of law. While we've had some regulations surrounding this law from 2011 in India, but it's not really seen rapid growth that it has seen around the world. So I think that practicing at the intersection of tech, law, and innovation, because innovation not just in the tech but also in the law is something that really inspired me to end up where I am today. I think that's been my journey with tech law.
Wow. So now, Ajit, how do you approach advising clients in this highly dynamic sectors like ed tech, ad tech, finance, and telecommunication?
So I've I have about 2.5 years of experience in this field right now, which is not much, given the history of these sectors. But I think that one of the first things that I understood while dealing with client work is that every sector is different, and even within every sector, every client is different. What they need from you and what business they have will determine the course of your legal advice. I think that something that has been sort of very interesting for me to learn is to let the business guide the law. Sometimes us lawyers tend to get stuck up on a few words in the law and not, consider the practicalities of how every client's business is structured. So there's only a certain limit to which a business team is going to say we can alter this. So the ability to find a middle path for you to run a successful business while still being legally compliant is something that changes from sector to sector. Now, in sectors such as edtech and adtech, it's a little bit more simpler because they are slightly unregulated in this country. So, while you have, consumer protection laws or data protection laws that come in, there isn't a specific sectoral regulator that's going to be looking at what you're doing. But when it comes to sectors such as finance, when it comes to sectors such as health, for example, it is a highly regulated arena. So I think that understanding the business, drawing out the conclusion, and then charting out the best course of action to reach where you want to reach, while asking your client to not make too many business modifications, I think is the goal.
Wow, very good. Now, how has telecommunication law evolved in India?
That's a very interesting question because the previous law that we had is ages old, right? It is in 2023 that we had a brand new law that's come out. That is the Telecommunications Act of 2023. But while it does make a bunch of modifications to traditional telecommunication constructs, what it also has done is move India into an environment where interception and government surveillance is still highly permitted under this law. So I think that the evolution of telecommunication law in India, once again, is yet to begin. Because while things such as hardware, while things such as equipment has been highly regulated, and the DOT and the TRI have paid a lot of attention to that, I think we're somewhere in the arena of interception and trying to define what OTT platforms are for the realm of telecommunication law, somewhere stuck, because we still do follow a highly license-based regime. So I think that once we reach an environment where we're able to reach global standards in these subsectors of telecommunication law, I would personally think that, telecommunication law has started evolving. Up until then, my thoughts are reserved.
Yeah, good. Well, it's a recent updation has happened, so there will be a lot of learnings to be covered, evolved, and implemented. So, like 23 is just not much duration has gone. Now, so there will be cases like clients will be covered under the old act, and now we'll have to make changes to be they are compliant in the new act. So how do you go about that?
So again, I think that in the telecom sphere, at least, the traditional telecommunication companies are few, right? So the changes that they have to go through, while they it depends on what their practices were and what their practices are. I think that the first thing you look at is the gaps in what their compliances are. So I think for these large telecommunication companies, something that is left for them to really understand is how the law will be implemented, because I think that largely you had a license, you have a license. So those licensing regimes have changed names, changed structure slightly, but the basis of the law still remains the same. I think the set of entities that will really face some difficulties in complying with the law are your telecommunication startups. We have now recognized regulatory sandboxes. We have now recognized some form of regulation, which they're trying to do of OTT apps. We see the TRI and the DOT repeatedly trying to ask questions about OTT regulation. So the compliance questions really arise there. And for these businesses, I think that their primary goal should be to say that by the books, I am compliant with the law. Now, where the law has loopholes, I think that finding answers for them becomes a little bit difficult, where regulators are silent on guidance, or when regulators don't have much nuance to offer under certain laws. I think that they do suffer, and the best way for them to deal with that, from what I have seen, is to really understand the risk of what they're doing and whether it's worth it for their business or not. So while we can explain to you exactly what the pitfalls of what you are doing are, at the end of the day, it's also a calculated business ask. So I think that for those smaller telecommunication companies, now's the time to make those asks and think about those risks.
Yeah, perfectly explained. Now, in the context of data protection and privacy law, how do you balance protecting user data with telecom companies and their business needs?
Once again, data protection law is very interesting in India. It's a diaspora of large companies that are already compliant with international laws such as the GDPR, and sometimes just end up implementing those same mechanisms in India because from a cost perspective, it just works out for them. And then we have another group of companies that are globally compliant, but when it comes to India, haven't really bothered, because for us, personal data consent for processing is something as simple as a checkbox. And if I don't give you consent to process my personal data, you can turn around and tell me that you're going to disconnect my services. So it's as simple as that for Indian businesses right now. So user interest as a concept will only kick in once the new law in India has been implemented, right? And it is a highly consent-centric law. It is a law that will force businesses to really rethink some core parts of their business. Ad tech, for example, right? When you have a bunch of businesses whose business model basically functions on collecting personal data without my knowledge, or without my actual knowledge or actual notice that my personal data is being collected, to now being forced to ask for consent. Now, how many of us are actually going to turn around and say, there's a cookie wall here. I'm going to click yes to all cookies and allow you to process all my data. So it's sectors like this that will really face some difficulty. But once again, balancing user interest is a topic in India that we've seen a lot already. For example, under the fintech laws, right, in 2022-23, we had a bunch of fintech companies trying to comply with a law called the Digital Lending Guidelines, that basically said that for every piece of personal data that a digital lending company processes, they would need to take explicit consent. Now, explicit consent isn't defined under Indian law. It's not defined anywhere else either. Now, the problem that these businesses faced, and I think they've sorted it out fairly well, is to really understand what users want. Now, what Indian users would want is to have the knowledge that their personal data is being collected and being processed in certain ways. They don't want to read a 50-page privacy policy. They don't want to read a 30-page long contract. And that is the core of the issue, right? So I think balancing user interests for them largely is to just sit down and think about what their user would really want to know, and be transparent with their consent practices, or be transparent with the legal basis that they rely on. For example, if you're processing for the purpose of my employment with you, let me know. I'd greatly appreciate it. So I think that is how at least I go about advising businesses, because it's a law that's meant to protect user interest. And as long as you can continue viewing the law by doing that alongside maintaining business interests, I think you'll have a fairly good time complying with the law.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Ajit, some memorable project where you have worked and that has made a significant impact on your understanding of this telecommunication law. Can you share?
So originally, when I started off with Spice Root Legal as well, I was very, very intent on practicing everything that wasn't telecom law, to be very, very clear, right? Because I thought, so I come from a family where my father's a telecommunications engineer. So I've had all my life, I've been surrounded by, thousands of pages on 3G and 4G and 5G. And I was just like, this is not something that I ever want to do. But then out came a client who basically had one of the most interesting business models in this country. You would not know who they are, or you would not know what they do, but they do offer some really, really interesting telecommunications products. And I think that when I first dealt with their version of a product that was going to redefine commercial communications in India, I think that was when I realized, this is something that I can do and I like doing. And now I'm down the rabbit hole of trying to understand what 3G is and 4G is. So I think every evening becomes a tuition for me, where I sit down with my dad. I'm just like,
Wow,
let's understand 4G.
that's interesting. You have someone in the family who is from this field, which is very useful in linking to the law thing. Technology wise, he's there to guide you, and legal aspect, you and your seniors are there to help the client to navigate. That's interesting. So now you have your father with you. Now, regarding the regulation changing happening, how do you keep yourself abreast to all from the legal side? You have your father's side, you have your father with you for guiding you in the technology developments happening. We're coming to, we need from your point of view, okay, how can someone keep abreast to the challenges, sorry, developments happening related to telecommunication law, which is also a niche law, which I'm having conversation with you.
I would like to say that I'm one of those ideal people that wake up and read the newspaper every day and, sort of spend 30 minutes trying to understand the new concept in the law. But it's really, to our lifestyle, it is slightly impractical. We're not from the generation that has either the attention span or B, the dedication to do that. But I think that my way of doing it is to at least sit down once in a week, and just look at what websites such as, for privacy, for example, what OneTrust is putting out or what IAPP is putting out. When it comes to telecom, I think my best resource is the DOT's website and the TRI's websites, because with this regulator, it's something that happens on a daily basis, right? You wake up one day and you realize that there is a notification that's going to change some law. So I think that once a week, I do end up, just scrolling around the regulator's website to make sure that everything's okay. I don't need to ring any alarm bells. But I also do think that Indian blogs, for example, like India Corp Law, or something even as simple as your college blogs. There are a bunch of college blogs that are posting very, very interesting legal insights, including Spicy IP, which I think is one of India's best resources for intellectual property conversations. So I think that taking out about 30 to 45 minutes to rely on these resources and, really focus on trying to keep your attention on the job for those 30 to 45 minutes, I think is really, really useful. But I also do think that sometimes you don't realize that there has been an update. It so happens that it slips past you, and I think that when that happens, and when something is thrown at you, and it does fairly happen quite a bit in the legal field, right? You're sitting in a client meeting and somebody just says, "Oh, this letter dated XYZ says something completely opposite of what you're saying." I think the fact is to acknowledge it, and the fact is to try and figure out what best works for you in trying to understand how legal learning works, because it's a field that really forces you to keep learning throughout your life. So I think that keeping that part of you alive, keeping the child in you alive to always keep questioning what, why, and where, I think really helps.
So now, who's inspired you, or who's a mentor from the legal world?
I when you share a list of questions across, that's a question that I really did spend some time thinking about, because for me, my great grandfather was a lawyer, but I never met him. He passed before I was born. So I don't have a specific mentor who I looked up to before law school, right? And during the course of law school, somebody who I greatly admired was Justice P.N. Bhagwati, because of something very interesting that he did in his life. He was on the bench of a very interesting case in India called ADM Jabalpur versus Shivkant. But the problem is that this case is something that has not gone down well in history, right? It's a case law that's been looked down upon because of its support to the Indira Gandhi administration, and I think that he later in his life he had the grace to sit down and say this was an error in judgment. And I think that as lawyers, we all must have the capability and the capacity to do that. And during my law school, at least, I greatly admired that quality in him.
How has technology helped you, and which legal tech tool has impacted your work, Ajit?
So technology, as a tech lawyer, let me tell you that it's even the simplest SaaS solution that really changes your life. Something as simple as an update on Microsoft Word, and we're all hanging off the ceilings trying to figure out how to let it not affect your 100-page contracts. But as a privacy lawyer, I think a tool that has helped me personally is the IAPP privacy resource tools. I think those come at a cost, but those also are very, very helpful in trying to understand laws, because where we're stuck in a field where an update in the EU or an update in the USA might affect my work on a daily basis. So to sort of really understand the nuance of the law, it really helps you when local lawyers from there have written articles or have just explained the law to you in simpler words. So I think that those tools really help. I'm also aware that, I'm a lot of people say AI, but and those legal tech AI tools that have been built by law firms. I'm a fan of AI. I think that it's going to do some really cool things in the world. But as a lawyer, I have only words of caution for everybody right now. If if I'm looking for case laws online, and I do say this to everyone I meet, if you're doing legal research online on an AI tool, I don't think you're going to do very well right now. But that's not to say about the future, but that's where I am at with legal tech tools, at least.
Very well explained. Now, let's continue the conversation and go to the next round, the personal round, and understand Ajit as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
So I'm an only child, and I'm a Tamilian that's been brought up largely in Bangalore. That has resulted in me being slightly more cosmopolitan than I would really like myself to be as an Indian. But I think that my formative years largely were focused on, trying to really find who I am. Something that I realized very early on was that I'm a very different person. And as lawyers, I think a lot of people would identify that about themselves very early on. You're not someone who is very, very interested in tech. You throw a physics book at me and I will throw it back at you. I will just not be able to comprehend the first word that you're saying. So I think the formative years of my life was really trying to identify who I am. And I think that I've ended up in a place where I'm able to say that that really helped. My formative years were very, very useful to where I am today.
Wow. So let's go to your college days at Christ University. What was the excitement and what are your memories of it?
A lot of people today, and a lot of my peers, and a lot of people who have come out of different universities have started thinking about their college days, because we're all at that time, we're 2.5 years, 3 years into our career. And a lot of them say, this college, it's 5 years of just continuing, studying, and there's continuing like college drama. But I enjoyed my college life. I come from an institution which is greatly debated publicly, but I also enjoyed my time at that institution because I think that I did anything and everything that I wanted to. My school years were a little more restrictive and focused on academics, but I entered my college and decided I'm going to do everything under the sun. So my college years were largely, filled with moods and filled with just sometimes just college trips out of Bangalore, and just really understanding who I am as a lawyer as well. I like to speak a lot, as is very evident. And I think that my college years really, really did help me channel that into a more productive use of my time.
Okay. Are there any hobbies or activities that help you disconnect from work and recharge?
Living in Bangalore, the one big issue I have with this city is its lack of places to go to, or just culture to experience, or just art to live with. And I'm someone who really enjoys all of these things, right? So in Bangalore, my favorite thing to do is to just take my car out, and I know that Bangalore traffic is a really big issue, but I live outside the city. So for me to just take my car out and go on a really, really long drive is something that I've come to cherish. And I do this early in the morning. So, it's just the birds are waking up. What else can I say? But otherwise, from work, a place that I have really come to cherish is Goa. I know everybody says that because they go there to let themselves loose, but I also think that it's a place with so much community and so much culture, and I really do enjoy that about visiting Goa. So anytime that I'm not in Bangalore, you will probably ping my GPS in Goa.
Wow. Okay. How does the weekend look for Ajit?
My weekends are my time, right? So I think that some as a lawyer, you have to first acknowledge that some working weekends come with your career, right? You are in the professional services industry, you're on call. So sometimes it's a hazard that comes with your job, and sometimes it's fine as well. But I like to protect my weekends to myself. I like to spend time with family, but more importantly, just step out of my house or step out of my workplace to go and experience my life otherwise. So you will not find me at my house, you will not find me in my office, you will find me anywhere else in Bangalore at that point.
Okay. So in your, I'm a little curious to have this conversation in this direction. Okay, you go out for long drives. So, which places or what have you explored, and what are your experiences, and how has it impacted you?
So I started driving as soon as I hit 18, right? And for me, Bangalore has been a changing sort of canvas since then. Over the way you see a city when you're in school and the way you see it in college versus the way you see it when you're working is very, very different because your access to resources change, you're older, and what you experience, largely changes. I think that a few places that I really do hold close it's very mainstream to say this when you live in Bangalore. It's a place called Nandi Hills. Now it's filled with traffic. But during the off season, when it's not peak, if you can just drive up to the hill and just stand up there and experience the sunrise, I think it's great. But another thing that I also do really, really cherish is a place that's in the middle of the city. It's the Alsur Lake. It's a place where a couple of my friends live around. So after meeting them or after saying, having a quick chat with them, I head down to the lake and just sit and watch because I think that it is one of the most peaceful places in the middle of the city. You will not expect it to be where it is. Another place that's close-ish to Bangalore that I really do enjoy visiting is a vineyard right outside Bangalore called run by Big Banyan because I think that their vineyards are very, very and they tend to throw these like huge brunches. So if you can grab a few friends and force them, and some of my friends really do hate drinking wine, but if you force them to head to a vineyard with you, I think it's a great time and a great experience for anybody to have.
Wow. So, have you been on a food trail besides your driving?
So in Bangalore, that's the one thing you can do, which is that there's a restaurant in every road, and there's a new microbrewery that comes up practically every street now. Um, my way to explore food in Bangalore is slightly different. I don't think the flashy food that is offered at a lot of these places has piqued my interest, though a lot of my peers would disagree. I think that my Bangalore food trail largely is the older establishments of Bangalore and what they have to offer. So even it's largely Indian cuisine, but it's so wholesome and hearty and prepared by people that you've known for 15 years, 20 years at this point in time. So I think that revisiting those establishments is my version of the Bangalore food trail.
So, which place for this Indian food or street food you recommend?
So there are two places, okay, and I know that a lot of people would not know of the second place, but the first place is fairly mainstream. It's this place called Taza Tindi in Jayanagar in Bangalore, where I've visited a lot with my college friends. So now that nobody else is here and that group isn't in Bangalore largely, for me to go back is filled with a lot of memories of happy times. But a second place that I do visit is a really small establishment in Indranagar called Spicy Corner. I've gone there since my school days, right? And I think that the food is Indo-Chinese, but I think that it's the emotion of that place that really takes me back every time. Those are my two standard spots in Bangalore.
Wow, wow, interesting. So, look forward to a Bangalore visit with you.
Of course.
Okay. Now, can you share a personal tradition or family ritual that you look forward to as now Diwali is also coming up?
So my family does things a little differently. For us, Diwali is not a very big festival. We just enjoy some time together and, just go up at night to see the crackers. But a huge tradition in my family is Navratri, and as is for a lot of Tamilians. So my family has had this tradition with something called the Golu, where you have idols and dolls of various different Hindu gods that have been passed down through my mother's family's generations. So unwrapping all of them and putting that up, and just really it's a time that we get to build community because there's always people at home and there's always somebody to have a laugh with. I think that is a tradition that I hope that I'll be able to take forward at some point in time. But a smaller and more happier ritual for me is or used to be my Sunday morning breakfasts with my family, which is, something that is, yeah, it's not ornate. We don't have 15 dishes, but, just the four of us sitting down together and just eating as a family is something that I do miss. It's not something that we do very often anymore, but I do miss that from my childhood.
Okay, lovely, lovely. My last question. Describe Ajit in one line.
Not what you think I would be.
That is true. Okay, so let's have some fun, the rapid fire. Your favorite tech gadget?
My flip phone.
Okay, wow. Your favorite weekend getaway?
I think I've answered that question. Goa.
Okay. Your go-to comfort food?
Dosa and sambar.
Wow. Your favorite color?
Orange.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay, let's do this. Best piece of advice you have ever received?
Don't let anybody take away who you are.
Wow, very good. Books or podcast?
Books. Ironic, but books.
Okay. Your favorite color?
Orange.
Sorry. Well, orange, I got fruit. I'm got immersed in your conversation. Okay, I'm keeping track of what is happening with you. Okay, morning person or night owl?
I would like to be a morning person, but I'm a night owl.
Okay. Okay. Your favorite restaurant in Bangalore?
Oh, that's a difficult question. It used to be not. I don't know what happened to it now, but Cantan on Lavelle Road.
Wow, beautiful. So you did well. You get
Thank you
this
very much.
book,
I look forward to
and it will be a Diwali gift, which will be autographed and sent to you. So, friends, it was a lovely conversation which we had with Ajit, pre-Diwali, and happy Diwali to everyone, our listeners out there. He took us through this telecommunication law, what this new law has evolved, 2023, the changes come in, how companies are adapting, the compliance part, so many things. His father helping with understanding the telecommunication part, that is very sweet of his father. So he has support from everywhere, his mentors, so many things, and his long drives, his food trails, so many things which he had shared in this conversation. So we look forward to this conversation when it's published. Subscribe to our channel. There are lovely conversations with many different speakers. There are 200 plus episodes. So you get to learn, get inspired, implement in your lives. If you want to be a coffee speaker, visit our social media. Our team will connect with you and would love to have coffee conversation over a cup of coffee. So, and we meet with another speaker, another interesting conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
I'll just say that.